All right, today we are pulling back the curtain on one of the most practical and honestly revolutionary approaches to mental health out there, cognitive behavior therapy, or as most people call it, CBT. We're going to dig into a really powerful idea. What if the secret to a better life isn't about changing what happens to you, but about changing how you think about what happens to you?
You know the feeling, right? That little voice in your head that just loves to replay your mistakes on a loop. Or maybe it's the one that's constantly worrying about a future that hasn't even happened. It can be absolutely exhausting. Well, CBT is all about learning how to talk back to that voice, to get to the very root of that nagging inner critic.
So, let's kick things off with our first big idea, the thought trap. Seriously, this is the core concept. If you get this one thing, everything else about CBT just clicks into place. Now get this, because this is the whole game right here. CBT says that it's not the bad grade, the awkward first date, or the job rejection that actually makes us feel awful. Nope. It's the story we tell ourselves about it. Think about it. Two people get the exact same criticism at work. One person shrugs it off, the other's crushed for a week. The event was the same. The only thing that was different was their belief about what that event meant.
And this idea is perfectly captured in what psychologist Albert Ellis called the ABC framework. It's super simple. A is the activating event. Let's say you get an email from your boss that just says, "We need to talk." C is the consequence. Your stomach drops, you feel instant panic. Now, we all think that A causes C, right? But Ellis pointed out this hidden middle step, B, for belief. The thought, "Oh no, I'm getting fired," is what's really causing the panic, not the email itself. That B is the secret ingredient.
Another pioneer, Aaron Beck, had a great name for these faulty beliefs. He called them cognitive distortions. I love that. It's like they're bugs in our mental software. For example, there's all or nothing thinking. If I don't ace this presentation, I'm a complete failure. Sound familiar? Or what about personalization? You know when your friend is quiet at dinner and you immediately think, "I must have done something to upset them." Learning to spot these bugs is the first step to running a system update on your brain.
So who were the geniuses who figured all this stuff out? Let's take a quick look at the key players who built this whole school of thought from the ground up.
So you've got these three heavy hitters, and they each had a slightly different style. Albert Ellis, he was like a sharp, logical debater. He'd directly challenge your irrational thoughts. Then you had Aaron Beck, who was more like a friendly scientist. He'd partner with you to gather evidence and test your negative thoughts like hypotheses. And then Donald Meichenbaum came along and was like your personal inner speech coach, helping you change the actual words you say to yourself. So it kind of evolved from debating to investigating to coaching. Pretty cool, right?
And this quote from Ellis just hits the nail on the head. He's basically saying that we walk around with this secret rule book in our heads full of musts and shoulds. Things like, "I must be liked by everyone," or "things should be fair." The problem is, life doesn't care about our rule book. So these rigid demands just set us up for disappointment over and over again.
Okay, so we've met the brains behind the operation. Now for the really fun part. How do we actually use these ideas to rewrite our own inner scripts? Let's get into the tools.
Remember the ABC model? Well, Ellis gave it a crucial upgrade. He added D and E. D stands for dispute. This is where the magic happens. It's where you put your belief on trial. You ask tough questions. Is this thought really 100% true? Where's the proof? Is there another way to look at this? And when you successfully dispute that faulty belief, you arrive at E, an effective new belief. And a new belief, well, that leads to a whole new, much healthier consequence.
And check this out. This is a perfect before and after. The first thought is so heavy, so absolute. I must do well or else I'm no good. Your entire self-worth is on the line. But look at the after. It's lighter. It's more flexible. I'd prefer to do well. It's just a preference, not a life or death command. Can you feel the difference? Just changing that one word from must to prefer takes an enormous amount of pressure off. That simple switch is a game changer.
All right, enough theory. Let's see how this all plays out in the real world with a real person. We're going to take a look at the classic case study of a client named Stan.
So meet Stan. Stan's got some stuff going on. He's terrified of failing, he feels really awkward and intimidated around women, and it's all fueled by this deep core belief that just plays on repeat, "I'm not much of a man." That single thought acts like a filter, coloring every single thing he experiences and making him feel totally inadequate.
So how does a therapist help him? Well, they don't just say, "Stan, you're wrong." Instead, they become a team.
First, they might spot that Stan is stuck in what Beck called the cognitive triad, a nasty loop of thinking negatively about himself, the world, and the future. Then, using something called Socratic questioning, the therapist asks gentle questions to help Stan discover the holes in his own logic. And then comes the best part, homework. They design little real-world experiments, like maybe just saying hello to one person, to go out and collect actual data to see if his belief that everyone will reject me is actually true.
Now, here's a really important question. This approach seems very logical, very individualistic. So, is it a one-size-fits-all solution? Does it work for everyone, from every background, all around the world?
And the answer is nuanced. On the one hand, CBT's structured, problem-solving vibe is a huge plus for lots of people. But on the other hand, you have to be careful. For example, a super direct, confrontational style might not land well in a culture that prizes harmony. And even more importantly, you have to understand cultural values. The belief, I must always put my family first, might look like a distortion from a Western, individualistic perspective. But in a collectivist culture, that's not a bug in the software, it's a core feature.
But when you boil it all down, the takeaway from CBT is incredibly hopeful. It's this: you can't always control the world around you, but you have way more control than you think over your inner world. It hands the power back to you. By learning to notice your thoughts and question them, you can literally change the way you experience your life.
So I'll leave you with this challenge. Just for today, what's one automatic thought that tends to pop into your head? You know the one. Now that you have a few tools, how could you start to question it? Just a little bit. Give it a try. Thanks so much for tuning in.